Hello everyone! As many of you already know, the new version of Stable Diffusion is finally out. And this is an amazing news, right? Because we can finally generate realistic pictures, amazing pictures, as good as those generated with Midjourney. At least this is what's written on the main paper, which is this one here for who is interested in having a look at it. It's quite interesting. It explains very well what has changed since Stable Diffusion 1.5, 2.0, and there are a lot of output comparison between the three of them. Just to give you a brief explanation, now we have two models. We have the base model, Stable Diffusion XL base, and then we have the Stable Diffusion XL refiner. So what's the difference? Basically, they are pretty similar. They use the same text encoder, which are now actually two text encoder. This can be very confusing, I know, but if you read the paper, it's very easy to understand. So just to simplify everything, the base model is the base model and the refinement is just an additional part to that. If you want to get even better images with respect to what you will get from the base model. That's why the base model, when you download it, is way heavier compared to the refinement one. And together, obviously, is even heavier. Now, as I mentioned before, there are a lot of improvements. The pictures are more realistic, the details are even better in the images. There is still the issue of the hands, so sometimes they come out malformed. There is still an issue with colors, so sometimes when you put some color in your prompts, like for example, you want a yellow hat, like mine, you may get a yellow hat, but also a yellow background. There is still an issue with text, so sometimes you may get some weird text in the images, and if you want to write a text in a specific image, it's very difficult to do that. And then there is also still a social racial bias, so well, there is still room for improvement, let's say that. Now, in this video, what I want to do, I don't want to go too much into the technical theory of Stable Diffusion, but I would like to show you how to use it, right? So usually we use Stable Diffusion Automatic 11.11, but we cannot use Stable Diffusion XL for now on it. That's because the model structure, the architecture of the model is slightly different compared to the previous version. I think that who developed Automatic 11.11 is modifying the code behind it in order to adapt it to the new model. So let's wait for it. In the meantime, there is an extension. I'm aware of it. I'm not gonna discuss this today. Maybe I'll make another video. I don't know. I hope that Automatic 11.11 will fully adjust to Stable Diffusion. But yeah, there is an extension available, which is this one, if you want to have a look at it. But obviously, it's not the official version of Automatic 11.11. So while we wait for that, I would like to introduce you to ComfUI. Probably many of you have already used that. It's been out for a while now. The interface is super cool. It's very easy to use once you understand how it works, right? And it's very cool because it's based on a node interface, which means that, well, we're gonna see that together, right? But you will see that there is an interpolation of different part of the model, which is super cool because it allows us to understand better how Stable Diffusion works, how every part of the model works, and it works pretty well. So why not, right? So what I want to do, I just want to create this interface together in order to be able to use Stable Diffusion XL base and XL refiner. I'm not going to go into many details. I'm not gonna use LoRa models. I'm not gonna use ControlNet for now. I think I'm gonna make another video because otherwise it will take me too much time. Before doing this though, we need to download ComfyUI. And I'm gonna show you how to download this on your Windows computer. I'm gonna show you on Mac, and I'm gonna show you on Colab, which I think is gonna be for free. And finally, I'm gonna show you how and where you can get your outputs. Oh, and obviously how to reopen it, because I've received a lot of comments in my previous videos on how do I open again the interface. And I understand that sometimes it can be tricky because many of us, it's new to this, so I'm gonna do that as well. So for Windows users, I think that ComfUI works pretty well. You have the GitHub instructions. You need to read the README file within the GitHub instructions. It's gonna be super useful, and it's also gonna be updated on a regular basis. So hopefully you will be fine with my tutorial on how to install it, but it can be that tomorrow they update the file, update the GitHub page, and new instructions will be available. For my Mac users, let's say that ComfUI works, but it's a little bit slow, right? So the performance is not the best. So mainly if you have an M1, I wouldn't suggest you to, download ComfUI and use it locally. But if you want to give a try, please do it. It took me, I think, 1.5 minutes to get one image. And this was with the normal checkpoint, so not with Stable Diffusion XL, which is even heavier than a normal, like the previous checkpoints. So in that case, you can opt for Colab, which seems to work pretty well. To be honest, I used to have a lot of issues with Automatic 1111 on Colab. The notebook was always, not working properly, and it was stopping working all the time, and it was super annoying. But I found out that with this notebook, everything seems to be working pretty well, so I will go for it. I know that there is also the RunPod version. I'm not gonna go through that during this tutorial. I think Colab works pretty well, and RunPod is not a free version, so I'm just not explaining it now, but just be aware that if you are a RunPod user, you can use RunPod as well. Good. So let's start. I would say I'm going to start with Windows download, and then I will go into Mac download, and then I will use Colab for creating my interface. Okay, so this is the official GitHub page for ComfyUI. You can go down for the main instructions, and you will see that there is a section, if you scroll down here, called installing, and then you have different sections within that, one for Windows, and then if you scroll down you have Windows, Linux, and you have Apple as well. So let's focus on Windows for now. What you have to do is super simple. You just need to click on this link, direct link to download. So we just click, and ComfUI is going to be downloaded inside your download folder automatically. Should be relatively quick, and it's going to be downloaded as a zip file. It will be a 7-zip file. So I have 7-zip, so I can unzip it. I don't know if you can unzip it without that, but if you don't have it, it's pretty simple. You have the link for downloading 7-zip here on the same page, so just do that. So once you download it, you will find that inside your downloads folders in here. I downloaded it yesterday. You can right click, and then you can choose 7-zip, and then you can extract file, and you can choose where you want to extract this file. Now I'm happy with the downloads folder, so I'm gonna press OK. And this is going to extract all of the files within this zip file. Okay, we have this folder now. You can move this folder wherever you want. You can put it into your desktop, inside your personal folder, whatever, really. I'm gonna keep it here because I have already my ComfyUI, and I'm gonna delete this folder after I've shown you how to do it. So let's open this folder. You will have another folder inside, and then you have some folders. So let's go inside this ComfyUI folder, and then what we have to do, really important, before starting it, we need to go inside this models folder, and here is where you need to insert all of your models. So for example, your checkpoints are going to go inside checkpoints. And here you will have all of the Stable Diffusion 1.5, Stable Diffusion, the new one, so XL base, XL refiner, and so on and so forth. So the base model, right? So I have them inside my Stable Diffusion, obviously, inside models. It's inside Stable Diffusion. Here I have all of my models. So what I can do, I'm just gonna copy and paste these models in here. So you can, I'm just gonna copy and paste one for now, yeah? Copy and paste here. Actually, I haven't shown you how to download them. I'm gonna do that now. So you need to go into Hugging Face. This is the main page for Stable Diffusion XL base. While if you go back into Stability AI, you will see also the other Stable Diffusion versions. So you have the refiner and the base. Now, before going into this page, you will, I don't remember if it's on that page or actually it's here, you see? So you get this researcher early access once you click on the model, and then you need to scroll down in here, and then you will have to log in. And I did this already, so it's going to disappear once I log in into my Hugging Face. But in your case, if you haven't done it yet, you will have to insert your information. It's going to ask you for your email, your name. Actually, I don't remember exactly, but I think also why you want to use the model, and you can just put personal research or YouTube video, whatever. Then you press accept and you're going to have free access to the models. It's very easy anyway. So I'm going to log into my Hugging Face now. So once you accept all of these README file and you add your information, you will end up on this page. You can go into Files and Version, which is where you will have the model you want to download, and you need to click on this arrow on the right side of the Save Tensors. So you will have to do this for the XL base, and you have to do the same for the XL refiner. So if you go back into Stability AI, you will have the refiner in here. So again, Files and Version, you have the Save Tensors here, you will download it. Once you downloaded these two files, you will have to drag and drop them from your download folder inside this folder here, the checkpoints folder. So if we go back into models, we'll see different other folders where you can insert all of the other models. Like for example, LoRa's model will go into LoRa's, or VAE, variational autoencoders, will go into here. And if you go into ControlNet, you will have to insert all of the candy scribbles and so on and so forth. So it's pretty much similar to how Stable Diffusion works. Now, let's go back inside this ComfUI folder, and what we need to do, we just need to double click onto, go back one more. We need to double click onto this Run NVIDIA GPU. If you want to run on CPU, only you will need to run the CPU version, but if you have Windows, pretty much everyone supports NVIDIA GPU, so you double click on that and it should do everything by itself. So it's going to open a new tab inside your browser, your default browsers. In my case, it's Opera, and you have the main interface with the sidebar here, and the default interface is this one. If you mess up something like I did before, like for example, when I was playing with that, I was just randomly removing, nodes, deleting nodes, removing by mistake, like for example, the load checkpoint. You can just load default workflow, okay, and it's going to reload everything, so you're not gonna miss anything really. So it's quite useful. So this is the interface on Windows. Let's see how to download it on your Mac now. Now on Mac, let's see how to do it. We need to go first of all into the main ComfyUI GitHub page, right? And then if we scroll up, we have this green button code and we are going to copy this SSH code or link. Then we open our terminal. I'm going to use warp, but if you don't have warp, you can use your terminal. Just type terminal like this and this will open. I'm going to use warp, which is very useful, has ChatGPT integrated. Okay, so warp, I'm going to git clone, let's first see where we are. So I'm going to git clone, I'm going to create the folder, copy and paste the folder inside my desktop. So I need to dive into my desktop with the terminal, change directory, cd desktop. And then here I'm going to git clone and paste the link I just copied from GitHub. Okay, obviously I have already the folder of ComfUI from before. So what can I do? I can maybe rename that like this, and then I'm going to git clone again. Okay, done. I have this folder on my desktop here, ComfyUI, and inside there are all of these files we have seen before. So for the Mac, what we have to do is slightly different compared to Windows. I would suggest to run these requirements. In theory, you don't have to if you have Stable Diffusion Automatic 11.11, but if you don't have it, I would recommend you to run it. So let's see where we are. We go into ComfUI, which is the one we have just created. And then we need to run this requirements file, which we can run with pip3 install our requirements like this. And this is going to install all the necessary packages, libraries that you need for running ComfUI. I have done this already, so as you can see here, all of them is saying requirement already satisfied, but in your case it's going to download or update. If there are some warnings as like this, for example, pip version, there is a new version of pip available, yeah, that's fine. I don't need to do that now. Cool, so once you've done it, let's see where we are again. And we need to, if I'm not wrong, we need to run this file here. Okay, given I don't remember, I'm gonna show you what I will do. I will go into GitHub page, right? And I'm gonna scroll down into the instructions. And you have here Apple Mac, which is obviously under the instructions of how to install. So installing, you have Windows, Colab, which we are going to see that afterwards, NVIDIA, and then you have others, and you have Apple Mac. So it's going to tell you install PyTorch, fine, follow the manual instructions for Windows and Linux, which is what we have just done, and then install the ComfUI dependencies, which is, I assume, the requirements file. We can have a quick look at this. Dependencies, here you go. This didn't work for me, so that's why I used pip3 install. If pip3 install doesn't work for you, you can use pip install. So this, we have done it, and then we need to launch ComfUI by running Python main. Okay, so I was wrong. So we go back into the terminal and we need to run this file here. So how? Python 3 main.py. What's here? Using it. If you have memory speed issues, try using, okay, like it's suggesting you some commands you can use when running this file in case the performance is not good, but I'm telling you, I don't think it's going to make much difference, but you can give a try. Anyway, it seems to be working because it's giving you this link here, which you can open pressing command and clicking on it. And as we've seen before for Windows, we have the main interface of ComfyUI, so you can start using it. Now let's have a look at Colab. Now for Colab, we need to go back to the GitHub page again, and then we have this section, Colab Notebook. We can click this link here, link to open with Colab. Cool, nice. You can save this file if you want, or you can use it directly from here. There is a lot of code, don't be scared, it's very easy. You don't need to understand all of this. I'll just give you some instructions on what you can do for downloading different models. There are two ways in which you can use Colab Notebook. You can use it using your Google Drive, and I would recommend you to do that if you have space in your Google Drive. And this is because if you have already some downloaded models, you can transfer them from your local computer inside your drive without having to downloading them again. Although it's very easy to download them, it's very quick. But if you have already on your local machine and you have, 20 models you want to transfer, you can just do that directly without having to download everything again, right? And and very important is that you're not going to lose your outputs. The second type is the external computer you are using. So what happens when you open a new notebook for Google Colab is like every time you're connecting to a new computer. So you need to start from scratch all the time. All of the outputs you have generated before, they're not going to be available to you if you open a new notebook unless you downloaded them before. If you want to use the external computer, really up to you, you can just run this first environment setup session as it is. If you want to use Google Drive instead, you just need to tick this box. Easy. Then this is if you want to update ComfUI. So as I said before, this notebook is going to be updated on a regular basis. So in case you want to update it, you just need to click on this. Before running, you need to make sure you're using GPU because this will make the generation quicker. So to do that, you go into Runtime, change Runtime type, and then here you have GPU. And then these are different type of GPU. And then you press save. So once you have done it, this needs to be connect. Fine, I'm happy. You press this button here. And then this is going to mount to your Google Drive. So run anyway. It's going to ask you access to your Google Drive. Okay, connect. It's going to connect to my account. You need to allow. So now it's mounting. It should be very quick, hopefully. It's going to install all of the dependencies. Okay, when you see this tick here, it means it's done, so perfect. Now here we need to decide which models to download inside our drive. Now, as I said before, if you have it on your drive, if you're mounting Colab on your drive, you can just drag and drop the file inside your drive. Otherwise, which is gonna be quicker because you're using GPU, in this case, you can download them from this notebook. So by default here, you have Stable Diffusion 1.5, and then you have Stable Diffusion 2, and then you have some LoRa models, you have some variational autoencoders, you have ControlNet. So if you're happy with those and you want to download some of them, you can just remove this hashtag from, not in this case, so in front of this get commands. So you just need to remove the hashtag and it's going to download these files. Now, obviously, I don't want to download this. I just want to download the Stable Diffusion 1.5 model. I want to download the variational autoencoder, although I'm not going to use it, but just to show you. I can maybe download, let's see, you can see here what they are. I can maybe download Canny and Scribble here. So Scribble, so I'm going to remove this, and Canny, I'm going to, where was Canny? Here, number 3. So I'm going to remove this. Now, if you want to download Stable Diffusion XL base and refiner using this notebook, you can easily do that by adding the exclamation mark, right? You need to write wget and see, and then you need to add here the link to the model. So how to do that? You go back to Hugging Face and you need to right click on this download button here and then copy link address. You go back into Colab and you paste it. Now this is how you usually do that. So for example, if you go on CVTI as well, okay, let's say that I want to download this file. cyber realistic, you need to right click on this, copy link address, and then you go back into the Colab notebook and you do the same, like this, right? Easy. Now, the only issue with Stable Diffusion XL is that you cannot do that in reality, because as I showed you before, you need to approve and you need to give your information in order to download the official model. So what you actually have to do, you need to create a token inside Hugging Face and you need to add it in here. How to do that? Click on this avatar, if you have an avatar, and then you go into settings, then you go into tokens, access tokens, and then I have this already generated. If you don't have one, you can create a new access token, you can name it, I don't know, whatever you want to, and then generate token, and then you can just copy from here, and then you go back here, and you can paste it in here. And then you need to add the @ What you also have to do, you need to insert your username for Hugging Face. So in my case is La Carnevali. So you go back into here and before the token, you need to write your username, columns, and then you have the token. So this allows you to download Stable Diffusion XL base and XL refined. So all of the others, you don't need to do that. You can just copy and paste the link. So once you're happy with that, you run this cell as well. It's going to download the model. I can stop it because I have already downloaded it. So I'm going to stop it. If you have it already in your Google Drive, the model, you don't need to rerun this, okay? So I'm gonna stop it. But if you don't have it, you have to do it. It doesn't wanna stop. Okay, stopped now, cool. And then what you have to do, you just need to run this last session. It should honestly work. If it doesn't work, you can run this other one, but I'm usually fine with that. So you just run this final one. Obviously, I didn't tell you, but if you're not doing it with Google Drive, you have to run this cell again, because when you connect to a new Colab notebook, it's like you're connecting to a new computer, so you have to re-download everything. So this is the downside of using the local external computer, right? Okay, so this is still running. Okay, done. So you can now click on this URL link, and it's going to ask you for an endpoint IP, which you can find in here. So you just need to copy this and paste it in here to access the local tunnel. And cool, so once you have inserted that, you end up with the main default interface, which is this one. So here you can choose the different checkpoints. Here you have the positive prompt, here you have a negative prompt, here you have the image size and the batch size, here you have the sampler, so you can choose what type of noise you're going to use, the denoise and the seed. So it's pretty much similar to Stable Diffusion Automatic 1111, and here you have the variational autoencoder and the final image. Sometimes it's gonna do this weird reconnect, but nothing is changing, it's still working, no worries. And here you have this side bar where you can queue prompt, so you can run different prompts one after the other, and then you can save your interface, you can load an already saved interface, you can refresh, you can clear, load default. Yeah, so what I want to do, I'm going to load my file, which is this one, and I want to just build this interface with you in order to be able to use Stable Diffusion base and refined. So let's see how to do that then. Yeah, so I'm going to load the default one so we can start from scratch and we can do everything together. What I want to do as well, I want to change the color palette to be solarized, just because I like it more. So let's zoom in. If you double click on the background, or if you right click it, you can add nodes, and you have different one here. You can do the same if you double click, and then you can type anything like, for example, ControlNet, and it will come out like this. So this is how you create notes, and then you can link them like this. You see, you just, okay, let's delete this, and then you can relink it like that. Very easy, honestly. Something very useful as well is that if you click on one dot, you can see where it can be linked. So for example, you cannot link into those, you can just link here and here. You see, these are like not available anymore once you click on that. So pretty useful, I would say. So let's start with the Stable Diffusion base. So what we have to do, obviously here we need to change this to Stable Diffusion base. Great. We can rename this node. If you right click Properties panel, we can call it Stable Diffusion XL base. And you can also change the color, but I'm not gonna change it for now. So close this. Tack. Now, yeah, so we have a clip, text encode. This is the positive prompt. So also in this case, we can call it positive prompt. And this is the negative prompt. So we can call it negative prompt. Yeah, easy. So we need to connect this model with clip to the positive prompt and the negative prompt. Clip is a text image encoder, so it's going to transform a text into a vector embedding, so with all numbers. And the same is gonna do with images in case you have an image as input. So it's going to encode and then it's going to put together those similar vectors in order to match images and text. So if you have an image of a dog and you have a text dog, these are going to be similar vectors and are gonna be very close to each other. Yeah, so this is going to connect to clip. Then you have, okay, let's open this a little bit so we can see where this connects. So this is the model, right? The model is going to connect to the KSampler. Cool. So here you have the KSampler where you have, again, the model. You have the positive prompt, which comes from the positive prompt. You have the negative prompt coming from the negative prompt. And then you have this latent image, which is the size of the image and the batch size as well, which come from this empty latent image, where you can choose how big your image is going to be and the batch size. So yeah, basically you need to connect all of these nodes, otherwise you're gonna have an error and this is not gonna work. So we have connected model clips, and then we have the variational autoencoder. So if you have your own variational autoencoder, in case you want to use Stable Diffusion 1.5, you can actually use this one, where you use the variational autoencoder you downloaded and you can connect this in here. So in this case, the variational autoencoder is gonna be the one you downloaded. However, I don't know if you know that, but every Stable Diffusion model, every checkpoint has already a variational autoencoder inside it. So obviously the one you download, like for example this MSC, is going to give you more detailed images, so it's gonna be slightly better, but also the one inside the Stable Diffusion 1.5 is not bad, it's good, right? So you can also just use the variational autoencoder from the main model. So I'm going to use that. And let me tell you, the one inside the Stable Diffusion XL base is very good. So, and then you can save your image here. You can choose a prefix for when you save your image. I can use test like this, for example. So now we have all of the nodes needed for running Stable Diffusion XL base. So what you have to do, you just need to press on Q prompt. The first time you run it is going to take a little bit of time. You can go back on your notebook to see what's happening. So in my case, it's got the prompt, it's going to work on it. But after you generate the first picture, it's gonna be pretty quick. Okay, I think it's, yeah, you see now green is here, is creating the image. And here you go. Obviously, it's not the best of the images because the prompt is what it is. Anyway, so this is how it works, right? So you can change your prompt, your positive and negative prompts to get different images. Okay, so now that we have seen how Stable Diffusion base works, let's have a look at how we can build the refined one. So we can copy and paste this node into here, yeah, and we choose in this case the refiner. We can also rename it as well. We can call it ref, yeah. So this is gonna be an addition to the base model, right? So the negative and the positive prompt have to be the same. So we could copy and paste the same two tabs in here, but what we can do, which is probably easier, we can add the node and then actually double click. There is this primitive node here. We can create two actually. So this is gonna be our positive prompt. Yeah. And then I can copy and paste another one, which is gonna be our negative prompt. Then you can right click and you can choose convert text to input. So the text box is going to disappear. But if you link this to text, the text is gonna be in here. So actually we don't even have to copy and paste the text because it's gonna be automatic. And we do the same for this negative prompt. So right click, convert text to input, and we are going to link this into here. Yeah, and then we can collapse these two windows by double clicking on this point like this. Easy. So we have our positive prompt and negative prompt. Now we need to do the same for the refiner. So we can simply click on both, copy them. Let's go down and we paste them here. Yeah, and we can connect these two this positive prompt to here as well, like this, and this other negative prompt to the negative prompt in here. Then, as you can see here, we are connecting clip to the positive and negative prompt because, as I said before, clip is a text encoder. So we need to do the same for the refined model. So we are going to connect clip here and clip here. Cool. Now we have model here that we need to connect to another KSampler. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it in here. So we are going to connect model to model. We are going to connect conditioning to positive and conditioning negative to conditioning negative here. And then you have this latent image. Now, before we were getting the latent image information settings from this empty latent image tab. In the refined model, what happens is that the refined model is going to work on the image generated by the base model. So what we actually have to do, we need to get the latent from here. So instead of sending this latent to the variational autoencoder, which we are gonna still do it because we want to compare the two models, right? But instead of doing that, if we want to use the refined model only, we just need to connect this to the KSampler, yeah? Then we need a variational autoencoder. So we can just copy this and paste it in here. And we are going to send the latent in here. And we are going to use the variational autoencoder from the original model. So from here to here, from the refined model. Yeah, so I think we have linked all of them. Now we just need the preview image, so we can copy and paste this and connect. Now we can rename this with the base output, for example, and this with ref output. Yeah. And maybe we want to call this base and we want to call this ref, so we know the difference. And we are ready to run it. Just to let you know, I haven't changed anything inside the KSampler. I left the default settings. And this means probably that we are going to have different images now. Because if we look at the Denoise here, is equal to 1. So when it's going to take the image from the base model and is going to refine the image, is going to use a Denoise equal to 1, which means that the picture is going to be quite different from the original, from the input image. It's exactly how the Denoise works for Automatic 1111 when we are using the image to image tab. So the higher the Denoise, the more different will be the image. The lower the Denoise, the more similar will be the image. And indeed, we have a different image. Now, if we use, let's have a look. If we use a lower Denoise, like for example, 0.2, and we cue the prompt again, now we should get similar images. But hopefully the refined one will be with more details, will be better compared to the image generated with the base model. Let's have a look. Indeed, they are basically the same. But if we compare them, so you have on the left the image from the base model and on the right the image from the refined, if we zoom in, we can see the difference, and we can actually see that the one on the refined is more detailed, and you can actually see that this is a tree while here is not very clear, and this kind of mountain as well is more detailed. The bottle looks better as well. So yeah, that's how it works. So I just wanted to build this together. In the next video, if Automatic 1111 has not been updated yet, I'm going to show you how to use ControlNet and LoRa as well within ComfyUI. And the last thing I want to show you in reality is how to reopen the notebook, right? And how to see the outputs. You can save this workflow if you click on this save, and then you can give whichever name. I can call it Laura test and press OK, and it's going to generate this JSON file which you can upload whenever you want. When you open the notebook, you just press load, and then you have Laura test here, and then it's going to reopen the workflow. Otherwise, as for Stable Diffusion Automatic 1111, is going to save all the information inside the image, the PNG image you generated. So you can just drag and drop one of the images generated with ComfUI, and it's going to load the workflow as well. So I'm gonna show you an example. So if you are in your drive, you have the output in the output folder. So these are those that we just generated. You can download this picture in here. So I have now downloaded it. Let's load the default. So we go back to what was initially. So you go onto load, and you can load the picture, and it's going to load the workflow we just used, which is amazing. Where you can see the outputs, you can see your outputs inside the ComfUI folder, and then you go into output. So very easy, and you will have all of your images in here. If you want to reopen the Colab notebook, you need to rerun the first section for mounting your Google Drive if you want to use Google Drive, or for initialize the external computer. So you need to rerun this first one. You don't need to rerun this second section unless you want to download new models, and you need to rerun the last one because it's going to, because it's going to give you the final URL. On the Mac, you need to open the main py via the terminal. And on Windows, you just need to double click on the file we used before, which was the NVIDIA GPU file. And that's it for today. So I hope this was useful, and see you at the next video. Bye.